Are you a real estate investor looking to sharpen your skills or a newbie looking to become one? You're in the right place. Welcome to Where Should I Invest? Real Estate Investing in Canada with your host, Sarah Larby.
We all do real estate, not because, well, I mean, there might be some people there that are, but most of us don't care about the brick and mortar part, right? It's what is it going to do for your lifestyle, your quality of life, your time freedom. All of those things is why the majority of us do real estate investing for, and that's just the vehicle to get there, to get to our goals. So just to clarify then, I mean, obviously you like to be with the family and of course the kids and all that good stuff. Are you a passive partner in the 25 unit project? Are you is it, how's the partner split or partnership?
Yes, no, it's a really good question. So on title is myself, my husband Matt, that you already know, and two other partners. Our two other partners live in Halifax, so they're 45 minutes away from the buildings, which is great. So we're mainly passive for this one. We're equity partners, but passive. So we helped with a couple of things from a distance when we first got in, setting up tenant cloud, doing things like that, whatever we could help doing from a distance. But for the main part, we are not managing it at all. It's our partner who's doing an amazing job. And he's really supervising all the renos and keeping us informed, keeping everybody informed. And what the beauty is that the money we put in for that deal came from our other houses that we had, in and around Ottawa. So really, our houses made a baby that's the building in Nova Scotia. And once the refinance is done for that building, then we can reuse the same money to go on and invest in something else, right? So, and by having the network and by knowing exactly how to run the numbers, what's a good deal, being able to differentiate a good deal from a bad one, even on such a large scale, is so important, because now we have the connections and we know where to put our money after that, right? So we're very grateful for that.
It is interesting because you're active in some deals and then you're passive in some other deals. So, I mean, obviously a couple questions you talked about, what is a good deal, what is not a good deal. And can you share some insights on like maybe some ways that you say, hey, this is like in the yes category, this is in a no category, this is how you differentiate between the two? Because there's lots of deals that come your way, I'm sure, every single week. And it's about looking and being able to make decisions and getting comfortable with it so that you can make decisions quickly, because if you don't, the deal is going to be gone before you do.
Yes, 100%. I think it's a hard question because it's not all black or all white, right? It really depends on the market. So you can't say, a cap rate of the cap rate of the 25 unit building was almost at 10%, when we got it, which would be completely impossible. I don't want to say impossible because it's very, nothing is impossible, I guess, but it would be very surprising, let's say, in markets like Ottawa or Kingston, for example. No, I think it really depends. Sometimes we go into deals more for appreciation. It has to cash flow anyways. That's a non-negotiable for us, but we're okay with this, a smaller cash flow in the beginning if we know that it's in a market that will appreciate and we can add value to the property. So it's really a case by case.
Okay. So like cap rate, you take a look at that, the net operating income, make sure everything's there. Cash flow, you have to obviously account for your vacancy, your property management costs. And I'm sure you've got a list of like 10 other things to see from there if it cash flows. And I'm guessing as well, like upside, right? You talked about a little bit of the renovations and the units that you're turning over essentially. And I think that's also something that's important, is to look at, okay, great, it cash flows, but like, what can you do to refinance? And you mentioned you want to refinance. So when you're looking at these large multifamily, you got to raise the net operating income. And then based on the cap rate, it's going to give you a new value. And I think that's a big piece, probably something that you consider as well as you're looking at these multifamilies, to make sure, okay, what is the upside, and when can I get my money back? What do I need to do? Can you share some insights on that?
Yes, for sure. So for the 25 unit, for example, we knew that a couple of units were scheduled to be vacant right after we closed on the property. So right then and there, we knew that we would renovate these ones right away. And what we had not planned, though, is that a lot more people than we were expecting decided to leave on their own. I think there was only one eviction that we had to do, but that was a process that had already been started a long time ago from the previous owner. But for the main part, the tenants, they decided to leave on their own. I think they saw a lot of changes happening, when everything is being renovated, the main areas, the hallways, the laundry room. I think some of them, I don't know, they got uncomfortable, or maybe they didn't like the noise anymore, but we certainly never, forced anyone to leave, and we certainly did not try to convince them to stay either. It's if they want to leave on their own, no problem. So that's why we were able to renovate that many units in such a short period. So we've calculated that for each unit, we could raise the rent at about $300 more. That's the baseline, but some of them were $500 more, per unit, depending on the work that was done and depending on the rent, the previous rent as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've got about a $300 increase on average per unit. And I know the rules are different, obviously, out in Eastern Canada. However, I will say things are always changing, so you always want to keep, your information current, because at the time that we're recording this, you might have the government intervene or the province intervene and create some new rules. So it's always important to stay on top of that. I want to go back for a second to, you talked about your partners and how awesome they are. Now, how did you find your partners? Did you know them prior? And what advice could you give somebody who's maybe doing some active stuff right now, or maybe not interested in doing active and wants to switch over to be a little bit more passive or do something similar to what you just did?
I would say network. That's the name of the game, and that's what we've done all year, which we used to not do because we felt like we were pretty self-sufficient. We would save our money and then use that money, for the down payment, and then refinance the house and so on. But once you join a network and you have all these investors coming together, and we all have the same mindset and the same goals, it's so much easier to create win-win situations. You know what I mean? So yes, we knew them prior, and he's one of the students in our coaching program, actually. So we saw him in many of the masterminds, and we knew he lived in Nova Scotia, and we knew that we wanted to invest in Nova Scotia for a long time because Matt, my husband, is from there. So we had created a connection, a long time before we started investing together, and that's how we did it.
Amazing networking. So and I know you've done a lot when it comes to networking, but and I do agree with you, especially if you are also looking to be a bit more of a passive partner, because I think a lot of the people, the active investors, are really actively networking and going out there. So, in a sense, you're differentiating yourself a little bit by also considering the passive portion in addition to your active portfolio. Obviously with the pandemic and the ongoing shutdowns and government's nonsense, let's talk about real estate though. Where can people go, today, these days, to network? And is it in person? Is it virtual? Like, what's your approach?
Well, I think we probably already spoke about that, Sarah, but I always felt like whenever I went to conferences and whenever I went to courses, I thought they were always very enjoyable, but I often felt like I was one of the only women in the room. So my friends, really, really great real estate investors here in Ottawa as well, Aki Daps and Daniel Onsworth, we started the WINC, Women Investors Network Canada, and we do in-person and virtual networking. And it is incredible the amount of women investors in Ottawa that we have that are such go-getters and who have such a passion for real estate, but also for helping other people and creating an environment where people are comfortable asking questions, whether it's in person or virtual, and just lifting each other up.
Thanks so much for listening to Where Should I Invest with your host, Sarah Larby. Make sure to listen in next time. We'll catch you on the next episode of Where Should I Invest?